Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the president focuses on reforming education and strengthening the economy at events both in Washington, D.C. and across the country. That's September 24th to the 30th, or 1, 2, 3 Lancers.
All right, what we got? 1, 2, 3 Lancers?
Lancers!
On a rainy Monday morning, September 27th, President Obama held a conference call with more than 200 student journalists from all over the country. He spoke about college affordability, health care for young people, and the need for an educated and competitive American workforce.
We have fallen behind. In a single generation, we've fallen from 1st to 12th in college graduation rates for young adults. And if we're serious about building a stronger economy and making sure we succeed in the 21st century, then the single most important step we can take is to make sure that every young person gets the best education possible.
Later that afternoon, the president met with a group of small business owners before signing the Small Business Jobs Act, a bill that will give our nation's small businesses support and incentives to help them grow and hire more workers.
Entrepreneurs like you all across the country are going to help put people back to work at a time where we desperately need it.
On top of the 8 tax breaks we've already passed, we're adding 8 more, which will accelerate more than $55 billion in tax relief over the next year to businesses across the country. Capital gains taxes will be completely eliminated for key investments in small businesses, driving capital to as many as 1 million small firms across America.
In the evening, the president loaded up Air Force One to depart for Albuquerque, New Mexico, the first stop in a 3-day swing from the American Southwest through the heartland.
High five.
High five, Dave.
That's what I'm talking about.
On Tuesday, September 28th, the president met with the Cavalier family at their Albuquerque home before hosting a backyard discussion with neighbors and families through the area.
We're going to be able to talk about all kinds of things with the group, but I want to spend a little time at the front end talking about education.
I've been in education for a long time, worked about 15, 20 different schools.
All right.
And I really see what we're doing right now. We've incorporated a lot of strategies that, that promote success for kids.
The president explained how our country's economic success depends on how well we educate our students. He also discussed how the newly released Republican platform calls for massive cuts to education spending in order to pay for a $700 billion extension of tax breaks for millionaires.
One way they would pay for it is to cut back our education spending by 20% and reduce student aid to go to college for about 8 million students. That's one of their answers. And I just have to say, look, China, that's not the decision they're making about their education system and their kids. South Korea, that's not the decision that they're making about their kids.
Before the president left to Mexico, Lieutenant Governor Diane Denish took him to the Barelas Coffee House, where they continued the discussion with patrons and sampled the huevos rancheros.
Hey, this guy, he works in affordable housing at the Mortgage Finance Authority. We had a question about them today.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
That's a priority.
Before making his next backyard stop in Iowa, President Obama made a surprise stop at Lafayette High School in Madison, Wisconsin, where he greeted some students, the volleyball and tennis teams, and the football squad. The president stressed that achievement in the classroom is just as important as performance on the field.
He's got a little speed?
He does. He does. He's probably the fastest kid.
And he's an academician.
Yeah. And he's the academic.
You working hard in school? Yeah. I need you to, man. Congratulations. We're proud of you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
On Wednesday, September 29th, President Obama visited the Hatfield Club family in Des Moines, Iowa.
Tristan, you're sitting with the first elected official in our family.
Nice.
What found out on Monday.
What's his position?
Representative.
Student council, nice.
He once again took to the backyard to hear thoughts and questions from folks in the neighborhood and discuss the tough choices we are facing as a nation.
It means that we've got to make choices and we've got to decide what's important. And if we think our kids are important and the next generation's important, then we've got to act like it. And we can't pretend that we can cut our taxes, completely have all the benefits that we want, and balance the budget, and not make any tough choices.
The president made his final stop of the week in Richmond, Virginia, where he met Matt and Stephanie Perry and their 2 children, Matthew and Lucy.
I teach math and science.
Oh, terrific.
Together. I know. I'm just reading about all your initiatives.
I'm boosting math and science.
Yes.
The discussion in Richmond went right to the heart of the concerns of many Americans: economic growth, job creation, and fiscal responsibility.
Now, I'm not a math teacher, but I know a little bit about math. they're proposing about $4 trillion worth of tax cuts. About $700 billion of those tax cuts are for people who typically are millionaires and billionaires and on average would get $100,000 in tax relief. $700 billion that we don't have, we'd have to borrow in order to provide these tax cuts. And 98% of Americans wouldn't see any benefit from it.
To find out more information on any of these topics or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
You couldn't beat me now, and I'm 50.
You can't
Don't talk trash around me now.
Come on.